A little further into the Bugaria outskirts, Kabbu was seriously reconsidering his choice of life. Dr. HB, who was clearly not well, was riding on the green beetle's back and complaining loudly that he was going way too fast. Her feet were throbbing with a sharp, burning pain from walking all the way from the bee kingdom, and she was doing a terrible job of taking care of herself. Miss K was busy keeping the local wildlife away, but she only zoomed back to snap at Kabbu for going way too slow. Luckily, they spotted an old brown bug man named Chuck who looked like he needed help. The green beetle carefully put the doctor down and went to talk to him. The robot girl went back to patrolling the perimeter as the old bee sighed, pulling off her cracked glasses to clean them with trembling hands. Because she has no safety for herself, she accidentally cut her finger on the jagged lens. A drop of yellow hemolymph stained the glass. In an instant, Miss K's eye flashed a violent red as she screamed at the top of her lungs, "Where is the perpetrator?" Kabbu came rushing back, frantically asking what was going on. The two girls just stared at him for a moment before HB shoved her stained glasses back onto her face, standing up even though her sore feet screamed in protest, as she answered that it was nothing new. Ignoring the hemolymph on her hand entirely, the green beetle noticed the state of her frames and wished HB would just use an item like a bandage or get new glasses, but he simply offered to carry her again. That was a quick no from the doctor as she started walking off slowly, her limp becoming more obvious with every step. As they moved on, HB asked who that old bug was anyway. Kabbu answered that his name was Chuck. Though he didn't say much, the doctor found that a bit suspicious, leading Miss K to hover close and ask if she should use a tackle to torture the old man for info. That got a very quick no from Kabbu and a maybe from HB, making the beetle snap that there would be no interrogating today. He also realized right then that the robot girl couldn't actually read signs written in Bugnish when she accidentally flew straight into one. A little while later, Kabbu ended up having to carry the bee again because HB refused to admit her feet were swollen and blistered. When they finally reached the looming entrance of Snakemouth Den, Miss K called out to ask if there were really snakes in there. The bugs didn't really know and prayed hope not. HB commented that she had only ever gone this far back when she was a teenager on break time while dealing with the Ant Queen. The robot girl started teasing the doctor, asking if she was scared. But it was a quick no from HB as she peered into the dark and noted there was a grave of 1,000 explorers waiting for them. Kabbu added that many songs had been written about the dangers inside. Miss K got excited and thought that was so cool. Even charging up a honey shot at the shadows. The doctor did not want to hear any singing, so she grabbed Kabbu, and the two bugs started walking into the mouth of the cave. The beetle tried to convince her to turn back for her own safety. But the robot girl knew that when HB's kind makes up their mind, there is no stopping her. HB yelled out for them to uncover all the secrets hidden inside. Miss K made a happy mechanical sound as Kabbu looked down and mumbled to himself that he really needed to protect these girls. When inside Snakemouth Den, Kabbu made a comment about how cozy it was, making Miss K feel a bit sad that there was nothing exciting happening. Dr. HB added that they should explore a bit more to find something interesting. As the three moved on, an Inichus prepared to attack. Miss K took a defensive stance and tried to use a tackle, but the creature had thick armor. The only thing the robot girl could do was lead the Inichus away from the others, who didn't even notice the danger. Eventually, they took a break even though Dr. HB didn't want one. They spent the time talking, and it was revealed that Kabbu is from the north, while Dr. HB has lived in the Bee Kingdom almost her whole life, only leaving for work. Miss K came flying back and started putting a mushroom and a crunchy leaf into the old bee's backpack. Kabbu was about to ask why Dr. HB left home, until the robot girl started screaming danger over and over. A rolling stampede of Inichas was headed right for them. No one understood why, they just knew they had to get out. Miss K didn't like relying on Kabbu to knock the lesser bugs away, so she made sure Dr. HB stayed in the middle of the group. The robot girl flew just above them to scout for a clear path while the beetle stayed in the back in case Dr. HB fell. Suddenly, the old bee had an idea. She stopped and pulled out various kinds of items like food and tossed them down. Miss K became angry and shocked as the happy Anichas stopped the chase to start eating. When they reached the top, Kabbu thanked the doctor, but Miss K was so mad she started throwing a tantrum. She began speaking in the unknown tongue, likely complaining about Dr. HB throwing away her collected loot. Kabbu was confused and asked if the robot was broken, or how she could even have such strong emotions. Dr. HB gave a heavy sigh and explained two things Kabbu needed to know. First, he really didn't want to know what was coming out of Miss K's speakers. Second, she revealed that she never actually said she created Miss K. The beetle grew even more confused, but Dr. HB already knew what he was thinking. She answered that she only built the mechanical body and didn't bother to correct the misunderstanding because it made her look smart. Before the shocked beetle could ask anything else, Miss K finished her rant and calmed down. The bugs got up and continued moving until they were stopped by a river. Kabbu commented that the bridge was out, and Miss K snapped back that it was obvious. The girls noticed an old switch way up high that was likely connected to the bridge. Miss K flew over to hit it, but it didn't work at all. So she yelled the bad news back to the other side. As they tried to think of a new plan, Kabbu came up with an idea. Miss K noticed a rope connected to a mechanism as Kabbu explained that the robot could carry him across while Dr. HB followed. Dr. HB stood there in silence for a moment, putting a hand on her wingless back as she remembered something terrible. The doctor opened her mouth to speak, but before she could say a word, the bridge came crashing down on its own.